Welcome, everyone, to the May 6th HOF Housing Opportunity Fund Advisory Board meeting. We are not live streamed today, but we are being recorded, and Eric will give you the details on ASL interpretation.
Yes, there we go. ASL interpretation is available today. Please pin Nick M and Joan S to your screen to follow along.
We're going to start with the roll call. Lena Andrews. Darius Wallace.
Present.
Terrell Thomas. Tanika Harris. Karen Garrett. Ellie Fisher.
Present.
Councilwoman Deb Gross. Jerome Jackson. Deidre Washington. Rochelle Preston. Rebecca Yago.
Here.
Alan Cisco.
I'm here. Hi, guys.
Welcome, Alan. James Reed.
Here.
Adrian Wanaha, present. Robert Helwig.
Here.
Wonderful. We have affirmed that we have a quorum, but we do not have a registered public comment. So we will dive into the review and approval of the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes from the last meeting? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes as entered into the record?
I'll motion. This is Alan.
Thank you, Alan. Do we have a second?
This is Darius. I second.
Thank you, Darius. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? Any abstention?
I am abstaining. I was not at the last meeting.
Thank you, James. All right, motion carries. Since we do not have a registered public comment, we will move into the conflict of interest policy discussion.
Yep. And for this discussion, Alex Thomas from the URA's legal team will lead this conversation. And let me pull up the form here. Alex?
Hi, thanks, Eric. Hey, everybody. My name is Alex Thomas. I'm the URA's Associate Counsel. Before I start, apologies for my voice right now. I'm getting over a cough that I got from my daughter who got it from daycare. So you know how it goes. So just a little bit of background on this. We've had a conflict of interest policy that has applied to HOF since 2018. It's been about 7 years since we've updated it. And, our legal team has taken a look at this and kind of created a revised draft that hopefully makes a little bit more sense, is easier to follow, and provides some clearer parameters. So I'll go over some of the sort of the big changes that y'all might want to be aware of. So the big initial one is that we've revised the definition of conflict of interest. The existing policy referred to a conflict of interest as kind of a divergence between a board member's private interests and their obligations as a HOF advisory board member, and applied on the basis of whether that conflict was perceived or actual. So what we wanted to do this time is sort of take a fairly standard legal definition from the Pennsylvania Public Official and Employees Act, which is that a conflict of interest exists when a public official uses the authority of their position or confidential information gained from their position as a way for private financial benefit. Because the HOF Advisory Board is an advisory board, it is not subject to that act. However, we wanted to take that definition and apply it and adapt it in such a way that it would apply to the HOF board. So an official action being a recommendation, preparation of an RFP, or voting on the annual allocation plan. So we defined it here, and like the definition under the Pennsylvania Public Official and Employees Act, it applies to you in your personal capacity, but also businesses that you're associated with, as well as immediate family members, which is defined in the policy here. And so, Eric, if you could scroll down a little bit. So this identified three kind of broad categories in which a conflict of interest might exist, and we established procedures that would be applicable to each of these situations. And this was something that we pulled from the existing policy. First being, if there is an actual conflict of interest related to a funding award recommendation, we would ask that advisory board member disclose that conflict of interest and recuse themselves from voting. Next, we would have if there was a conflict of interest related to the adoption of the annual allocation plan. Because this is kind of a broader document, we wanted to leave a carve out kind of saying the advisory board member would, if an actual conflict of interest existed, the advisory board member would recuse themselves and kind of disclose that conflict of interest, but otherwise be able to engage in those broader conversations around the allocation plan. And then for the preparation of requests for proposals, now this isn't something that was addressed in the existing policy, but we wanted to kind of capture it here, and that we wanted to focus on disclosure of a conflict, especially if an advisory board member who is helping prepare that RFP was associated with one of the entities that is responding to that. The rules being, just disclosure, and then not having that HOF advisory board member engage in any review of that RFP in their capacity as the HOF advisory board. And the reason we wanted to put this emphasis on disclosure was because HOF advisory board is an advisory board, and ultimately those considerations would go to the URA board or the governing board. And if there is a conflict there, that would be disclosed and part of the consideration under the URA board. And on that same note, if there is a perceived conflict, Eric, can you scroll down slightly? We wanted to establish that a perceived conflict wouldn't necessarily mean an absolute prohibition on voting or a recusal. This was the case for the original policy, but we would encourage disclosure of that perceived conflict. Because when it's perceived, it might be a little more difficult to define, but erring on the side of disclosure, we thought that this was a fair change to the policy. So we really tried to shorten it there. So that's the bulk of the policy. Before I continue on to talking about the annual disclosure, does anybody have any questions?
I do have a question, and more just like a point of clarification. Being that I here representing the mayor's office, I feel like any vote I take on this board can have the interpretation of a perceived conflict. So just wanted to get a verbal confirmation that the conflict of interest definition falls under that perceived conflict section of this policy.
My read on this would be that you are affiliated with the city, but it's not necessarily a business that you're associated with.
Exactly.
There's not exactly a profit component here, because it really is that financial gain component that's critical in the Ethics Act analysis. So I wouldn't even say that's a perceived conflict.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. I just wanted to make sure we're we're on the same page with that. I interpret it the same way you just described it, but just wanted to make sure we're on the same page with that. And not, I'm just going off of my own assumptions.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's a good question.
I have a question. This is Ellie Fisher. So in reading the one about the conflict of interest related to the annual allocation plan, so if we work for an organization that is thinking about or planning to apply for some of the funds, that would be a conflict of interest, right? And so then we would not vote on the allocation plan? Or we would recuse ourselves from it? Is that correct?
I would also say that would be okay. I think if there was anything in the allocation plan that was directly going to those entities ahead of time, then that would be not necessarily a category of expenditures that could be later applied to.
And in our past engagement with legal counsel related to the allocation plan, they had given similar guidance that the possibility that your organization may at some point in time apply for funds or be funded wasn't necessarily something that you needed to recuse yourself from the vote. But what our group has, traditionally done just for, full transparency is if members of the group were currently funded, they have disclosed that during the conversation of we are currently a rental gap program recipient and intend to continue to apply. Not that they couldn't be part of the conversation or vote, but have just shared that as part of the spirit of transparency.
Great, that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that would fall under the section E about the perceived conflicts, where if the advisory board member does believe that they will apply and that could create a conflict, disclosure will still be encouraged.
Mm-hmm. So really, what I'm hearing is we're disclosing as much as we can, as much as we think to, and as often, right? Because that's great. We all get to know what each other's working on and when we disclose too. But the actually recusing ourselves is if the organization or the family members are named and actually a part of whatever's being voted on.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
And a great example of that is today we will be hearing from the residences at Wood Street. Everyone knows that I worked for a company that was affiliated with Wood Street for many years because I've regularly disclosed that. Today we will have a conversation that I will facilitate, but I will abstain from the vote because the company I currently work for is part of Wood Street's renovation plan. Mm-hmm. So my affiliation with the organization over the years is sort of one prong of that relationship. But in this particular case, we are actually part of the proposal. So that creates a very different context. We could potentially be directly benefiting from that particular grant application. So making sure that folks have the transparency on both sides and that I am aware and forthcoming about my need to abstain from the vote.
Yeah, thank you, Adrian. Yeah, does anybody have any other questions before we continue? Okay, Eric, can you scroll down to the disclosure form as well? Thank you. So you all might recognize this from the existing policy. This is a few minor formatting edits, but this is essentially the same document in terms of just annually we would ask the advisory board members to disclose whether there are any relationships or interests that could create either a conflict of interest or an appearance of conflict of interest. Or, excuse me. And then if so, to list those entities in the following fields. And as I mentioned earlier, we would like this to be completed annually, and I believe by June 1st of this year to coincide with the adoption of the new policy.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. But that's really about it from my end. I'm happy to answer any questions here or offline about this policy. I know conflict of interest questions can be sometimes slightly sensitive, so please don't hesitate to reach out. But yeah, thank you all.
Thank you. This is really helpful to have. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Alex.
And Eric, I had searched my email communications and did not see the draft document.
So it would have been sent out. There's sort of the big email on Friday that I sent out with all the documents. I didn't attach it to that first one. I had forgotten, so I sent it immediately after as a reply all. So it should be in your inbox that way. But I'd be happy to recirculate it after this meeting, just so that you all have it, and to help facilitate you all to be able to complete it ahead of that due date on the 1st.
Adrian, I'm forwarding it to you now.
Oh, great.
For me, I spent a little bit of time during this meeting looking for it, and it's because my email reader had collapsed the two conversations. So Eric, actually, I super appreciate you sending it together. It makes a lot of sense, but I just had to look a little harder.
No worries. That was my mistake. I realized just after I hit send.
Hey. It also helps that they were in the same place once I did figure out how to.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
All right.
So we send these back to Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. Send them right to me. And yeah, I will distribute them internally where they need to go.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Moving on from that, unless there's any final questions, we have the Catherine Terrace Rental Gap Program, which will be presented by David D. Bernardo.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everybody. My name is David DiBernardo. I'm a lending analyst in the residential lending department of the URA. I am joined here today by Emma Lucas Darby and Ernest Darby, as well as some members of the public at the URA offices. I am here today seeking authorization to enter into a rental gap program loan agreement for up to $480,000 with Catherine Terrace LLC or a related entity for the construction of 8 new affordable units in the Middle Hill District neighborhood of Pittsburgh. $400,000 of the rental gap program loan will be used to fund construction costs, and $80,000 will be allocated to a supportive services escrow account. The rental gap program loan will be a 40-year, 0% interest cash flow loan. Next slide, please. Catherine Terrace LLC is the developer and is owned by husband and wife Ernest Darby and Emma Lucas Darby. They are working with nonprofit developer Neighborhood Allies, who have been involved throughout the pre-development and planning stages of this project. The 8 units of this project will consist of 4 one-bedroom units, which will be on the ground level, and 4 two-story, 3-bedroom units. All 8 units will be rented to households earning at or below 50% of the area median income and will accept housing vouchers. The total development cost of this project is $3,148,000 and $148,246. Other significant funding sources besides this rental gap program loan will include a $1.2 million Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Program grant, the FHLB AHP grant, a $668,000 permanent mortgage from Bridgeway Capital, $250,000 of owner equity investment, and a $250,000 Neighborhood Allies equity investment. Several organizations will provide social supportive services to the tenants of Catherine Terrace, including educational services provided by the Neighborhood Resilience Project, financial literacy, credit counseling, budgeting, and life skills provided by Catapult Greater Pittsburgh, and youth and after school programs provided by ACH Clear Pathways. Of the $480,000, $80,000 will be sourced from HOF 2022, and $400,000 will be sourced from HOF 2023. We are joined here today by the co-owners of Catherine Terrace LLC, Ernest Darby and Emma Lucas Darby, who will be making some remarks about this project. Thank you for joining us today, guys.
Thank you, and we appreciate the invitation to appear before HOF. This is a dream come true for my husband and I to get to this point. We have been working on this project for approximately 18 years, and we have been able to get the capital stack to the point where it is this year, which is really an achievement, but one that we are very excited about. And we're pleased that we have been able to receive the support from the Federal Home Loan Bank and, of course, from the Run a Gap program here. In addition to the funding we will get from Bridgeway and from Neighborhood Allies. The way this project started was with my mother-in-law, who is deceased, but she was an individual who lived on Paris Street and was the kind of person who would go up and down the block, sweep up the trash, pick up the other items that needed to be picked up, but she believed in keeping the neighborhood clean. And because of that, she became known as Mother Graham of the neighborhood, and all of the individuals and the kids looked up to her simply because she cared so much about the neighborhood. And in addition to that, she would discipline the children in a kind way, not with the hits and all of that, but she was a very religious person, and she would discipline children and motivate them. Because the neighborhood felt so committed to her, we felt that the best way we could honor her was to purchase the parcels of land that we have and put something on that land permanently in a memory of her. She was the kind of individual who would take her funds and buy food for neighbors, even contribute to some of the other kinds of needs that they had. So we felt that an affordable housing project would be the perfect way to honor all that she had done in the neighborhood. In addition to that, Ernest and I are now members of the Hill District, and we want to see our community at the point where individuals who want to live in the Hill can live in the Hill and afford the rents. And that is the reason why we've chosen to make it an affordable project. We're not looking to make anything that is a profit from this, but to really turn everything back into the property to keep the property stable and in the best shape that it can be. So for that reason, we're hoping that you will see this project as being favorable so that we can move it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us, and thank you, Emma. I think you made a good presentation. We presently have 3 homes right now that we're renting out affordable, and one of those residents was where my mother lived, and that's where I was raised up. So that's directly across the street from the new project. But thank you again for having us, and hopefully the presentation my wife made, I think she said everything, is good enough. So thank you again.
Well, we're open to questions or comments.
Hi, this is Tamika Harris here.
Yeah, we will, as they've said, we're happy to take questions or comments from the board.
Hi, this is Tamika Harris. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think
Okay,
you're speaking,
perfect.
we can't hear you.
You can't hear
Is it
me.
because,
Are you muted?
You know what? We are having trouble with the
Here,
audio.
I'll run over
Eric,
there. Yeah.
it was just working.
I'll keep talking. Let's see. Anything now?
Yeah. I don't know what.
I wonder if they heard that.
No, we can release.
We heard you.
No, but you've heard us, right?
We heard you.
Okay, good.
No, we heard that whole
But
presentation.
no, we've been hearing all the audio until I presented, and now I can't hear anything in here. I don't know what. We didn't do anything.
Is this? I'll just keep talking.
Yes. He's talking.
Excuse us,
Is that
everybody. I
better?
apologize. We cannot hear.
No, technology is wonderful. It's okay. How's that? Not yet.
How did that change?
Hi, everyone in the room.
Tanika, can you try saying something for us really quick?
I've been talking. Yep. No, still nothing.
Yes, he's
Uh-oh.
talking.
One more time?
How's that? Is that any better? I guess it's not. Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
Can
the whole
recite a
time.
poem. And I don't want to label. I don't want to. Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to say. I don't have a question. I do want to just let the other board members
What a
know
shame.
that the Darbys are pillars in the community. They are well-respected members of the Hill District. And they also operate in leadership roles. They've been very humble today. But first, wanting to state that we have Dr. Emma
After
Lucas
you guys
Garden.
make such a great comment,
They
they was so moving, and then
I still can't
yeah,
hear
at
you.
least they heard
Like
that.
that part.
Oh, I love
I
it.
don't have to repeat it.
It was such a nice moment too. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening.
Still nothing?
I'm gonna ring my laptop.
Oh,
Okay.
Try and plug it and try to put it back in.
Well, who we have in front of us is Dr. Emma Lucas Darby. And her husband is also, he is a leader in the community, also within the faith-based community. And so I think it's important that the board hears that, because we recognize that within so many different communities, there's a lot of community politics, all of those things. And just really wanting to let you know that I do wear the catapult hat, but I also wear the community hat. And the Hill District community can be very layered, it can be very intricate, but wanting the board to just know that these are two individuals that are well respected, that have done the work. I think it's very admirable that they're deciding to do all affordable housing, especially in light of how everything is happening. But to hear them say that they are not trying to make a profit speaks volumes to their character also. But I would love to hear them, for them to be able to hear that. I wish they could hear me say that about them. They could watch it later, I guess. And
I
Eric's
will.
Oh, you can hear?
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
We got
David,
it.
pause. No. Oh, okay. Mute. So you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll start from the top. All right. Hi, I'm Tanika Harris. Wanted to first just state that, so board members, you heard it already. Okay. So wanted to state that first, who's in front of us is Dr. Emma Lucas Darby, and that's important. That matters. And we also have Deacon Ernest Darby, and these two are pillars in the Hill District community. And so they have been doing this work quietly and behind the scenes for quite some time. They're not new to this, but it's very, very important to know this as board members, because the Hill District is so intricate, and there's also often politics and community politics, but these two individuals, it speaks volumes to their character that they are willing to do this and to take on this venture and not make a profit. That's not their aim. That has not been their aim. They have been doing for the community for a very long time. I am wearing a catapult hat, but I'm also wearing a community hat today. And I think that's the beautiful part of our work, because they choose us to be on these boards because we represent the communities we're called to serve. And so I recognize I'm a reflection of that, but I'm also a reflection of their leadership. My mother was a member of the church that Deacon Ernest leads. And so I have had the privilege of watching him lead other individuals in the community. My mother was low income, did not have a lot. They made sure she was well taken care of when I was young and not living in Pittsburgh. And I'm bringing that up because that's important. It's important that we continue to pour into people who have been pouring into their communities.
and not just the geographical community, but communities of interest and communities of action. Those are very, very instrumental communities, and we often forget about that because we focus on the geography. The other piece, Dr. Darby has been teaching for years in the classroom and outside of the classroom, and has not ever shied away from making sure that she is ensuring that the future knows what to do. We are well prepared because of her leadership. Many of us Black women that you see in leadership roles have been able to be in these roles because of the tutelage of Dr. Emma Lucas Darby. We know how to present, we know how to speak, we know how to walk and show up and not to shrink. And that is often because of Dr. Darby. So wanting to make sure that they heard this, but also that you all heard this as well, because these are the individuals we should be working with. These are the people who really, truly are about community. So I just wanted to say that. I said it twice, so I'm glad you all got a chance to hear it. But my fellow board members and guests, thank you for allowing me to repeat that. But I think we oftentimes get caught up in some of the other, the other mess. But it's important to be able to share the great. And I'm so grateful, and I'm glad to be able to see this come across our desk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So it's
I
wonderful
don't
to
have
see Dr. Lucas Darby. I am a Chatham graduate, and her mentorship at Chatham was really impactful. I'd love to open up to other members of the advisory for questions, clarifications, if you were looking for additional information.
I don't have any questions or need for clarification, but I did just want to share some of the things that in reviewing this project that stood out to me. Considering the diversity of projects that we see on HOF as an advisory board, I just wanted to, reflect on this one because it does represent, diversity in terms of the product type. We're talking about townhomes, and a lot of what we deal with are larger, sort of more multifamily buildings. I do want to highlight the affordability. So we're talking about affordability, generally speaking, at or below 50% AMI, but there's also the inclusion of housing vouchers to really cap, an individual's participation in rent and income around that 30% level. And so I really want to highlight that because I think it reflects something that we all understand about the need for affordability. It's great to be able to provide deeper levels of affordability, but we also have to recognize that there are so many constraints that our residents are facing in terms of income, and so many jobs that really are not able to deliver that sustainable income that we're all seeking. And so I just really appreciate the dedication here that we're seeing in this project to those affordability levels. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight is I noted that in the materials we were provided a current view of the land, and there are no structures on that land, right? So we are getting new structures on this land to really help build more, to introduce more fabric and fiber into that part of the community. So these are just things that I really wanted to highlight because I think, it's worth paying attention to how, especially in a community like the Hill and honestly, so many other communities across Pittsburgh, we really do have to have encouragement for the creativity and respect for those who understand the community and can deliver something good for the community. So I'll get off my soapbox there, but just share those thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very important comments, James. I do think that this is one of the more unique proposals that's come in front of us, and that is incredibly exciting. And I think that many members of the advisory echo your sentiment that these are exactly the kinds of projects we had always hoped that we would be able to engage with. Other board member comments or questions?
Yeah, real quick from me, this looks like an awesome project. Just a question about the targeting that y'all committed to for the Federal Home Loan Bank AHP grant. Sometimes the sort of scoring on that puts you in a situation where you have to target a very specific kind of end user for the units once they're done. Maybe I missed it in the details of the stuff that was shared, but can you talk a little bit about what kind of targeting you committed to for FHLB?
I'm not understanding what he's asking, so.
For the FHLB AHP award, there's sometimes specific targeting groups that you have to target, or what have you agreed to with the Federal Home Loan Bank? Is there anything specifically that you?
No, we do want to capture the audience that includes single mothers, individuals who have disabilities, and veterans. Those are the ones that we feel can benefit from this project. So we did include that in our project, our proposal. I'm sorry.
Great. That is the exact question I was asking. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Sorry if I didn't articulate it well.
Should have no
Wonderful.
trouble. I've got two questions, if I may.
Yes,
And I
Ellie.
think I'm excited. This project is super exciting, and I really appreciate the color from the other board members. Two questions. One, have you guys done a development like this before? And actually, either answer is great. And then I also wanted to know, which is probably a URA question. It says that the repayment of the RGP loan terms is to be determined percentage of annual cash flow. And I'm curious what goes in, when does that get determined? How?
Sure, you go first.
Okay. First, we've developed the house that we live in from the ground up. So that gives us some experience. However, it's a little different than developing these units. However, we have also renovated 3 units, gutted them completely, and renovated them. So we have that experience behind us. But I feel with the consulting team that we have, that we will have the kind of support to make sure that we're making sure we consider everything. And we have weekly meetings with our consulting team.
You have a fantastic team, and welcome to the development world. Like, seriously, we need more people here doing it. And yeah, that's why I said I didn't care what the answer was. I was just really curious and interested.
And we had to respond to several questions that David sent us in terms of just tweaking a few things in the plans. And that's the reason why that answer was given. We just got that information, I think it was Friday or so. So we do know that with the updated performer, that we will have the kinds of funding we need to keep the units going.
So I will answer the URA specific question about cash flow. Our starting point is always 50% of free cash flow is used to repay the rental gap program loan. And that's of course defined as after all operating expenses are paid, after a reasonable replacement reserve and operating reserve is funded, and after amortizing debt is paid. The reason in the packet, it could say 50% or to be determined. Sometimes if there happened to be another cash flow loan, we would be open to negotiating and splitting that so we don't each take 50%, leaving the developer with 0% of free cash flow at the end of the year. But the starting point is 50%. I did make it, I don't know, I just left that as to be determined, I guess, as a default in there. But it is, the starting point is always 50% of free cash flow, unless usually PHFA is involved with the loan or the housing authority, and they do a cash flow loan also.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the questions.
That was a great round of comments and questions in the spirit of having time for each project's discussion. If we don't have additional burning questions, if we do have a member of the advisory that would like to bring a motion forward, we would take that now.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, James. Ellie, it appears that Ellie just seconded that motion. All those who need to abstain from this vote, could you identify yourself at this time?
Tanika.
I need to abstain, but I think it's an awesome project and I'm so excited to see it.
Thank you, Lena.
Tanika Harris, I need to abstain.
Yeah, so I have Lena and Tanika abstaining from this vote.
Hi, this is Deidre. I need to abstain.
Okay. I will call for all those in favor at this time to signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition to this vote? Wonderful. I think that this is fantastic because we did have some abstentions, but I feel like we had a very synergistic response to this particular application, and that kind of support is always wonderful to see. Thank you to our applicants. We can't wait to see what's next and hope you come back and visit us with project updates.
Oh, we can. We will.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the demonstration program applications. The first application we're going to discuss is the residences at Wood Street.
Yep. So let me pull up that packet. I'll give a little bit of brief background, and then we have Kevin Hanley online to talk a little bit more about this project. So first of all, they're asking for $125,608 in order to do some renovations on the Wood Street Commons property. This includes replacing a vertical platform lift, and as well as replacing residential showers, doing demolition, and finally to be able to upgrade the old HVAC unit. Kevin, if you would like to add anything.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay?
Sure can.
Yes.
Oh, it's good to hear. Because there's no IT department here to help me. My name is Kevin Hanley. I'm the executive director of the Residences of Wood Street. We are the owner of Wood Street Commons. Wood Street Commons is located on the intersection of Wood and 3rd. We provide 259 units of single room occupancy housing. We serve folks who are generally in crisis and not capable of renting in the traditional housing market. We do have a partnership with Community Human Services, who provide services here on site in the building to a number of folks, and who also have program units within the building as well, specifically for a variety of programs that they offer, which range from homeless programming, individuals who come off the street, all the way through programming for folks in medical respite, as well as those who are involved in the criminal justice system. In addition to that, we have subsidized housing that we operate in conjunction with the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh through their Section 8 program, and provide subsidized housing in that way through a couple of different voucher programs. And then the last sort of silo of units are available for folks to come in and apply for as they need. And the only thing that's required there is some form of income. We do serve traditionally and typically a very low income population. Just today, since it was the beginning of the month, I went through and did some demographic information and put together some data for the board. Right now, we're just under 210 units occupied. We have relatively high vacancy in our Section 8 program right now that we've been focusing on over the past 6 months to address. Of the just over 200 people that are here, more than 70 of the residents in the building have no income at all. And median income for the entire building is just around $100 a month. So we're serving a very low income population here at the building. Coming to you for these emergent funds are a couple of items that really just came onto our radar screen and operations this year. As Eric pointed out, we have sort of three projects that are a part of this request. They are replacing the vertical platform lift that we have in our residential lobby. In addition to that, addressing a change order that came in with a replacement of 2 showers up on the upper floors. We're in a high-rise building. It's a mixed-use building. The residential portion of the building is floors 7 through 16, lays out in kind of a dormitory style with 28 units per floor and 5 bathrooms per floor. Those are shared, but they are lockable so that you have privacy in those bathrooms. We had an issue with bathrooms, 1 bathroom on each of the floors 7 and 8. They're currently offline as we're in the process of replacing 2 of the showers. And as we got into the demolition, we found some fairly significant issues related to deterioration in the stud walls, as well as some leaking pipes in the supply lines. So we came across a pretty significant change order of more than $40,000 that we're hoping to address with this. Then the final piece of that, as Eric mentioned, was a replacement of an HVAC unit that's also in the residential lobby. It serves both the lobby and sort of the front desk area where staff sit and staff the desk 24/7, 365. Came particularly the cold weather over this past winter demonstrated the need that it was time to replace the unit that's there. We were really hoping to get a little further on and get a few more years out of that unit, but unfortunately it's time that we complete the work. So the projects that we had came up and sort of fit this demonstration project. And so we've come to you today with this request. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about the request specifically or the building in general.
So we'll open up to questions and comments, but again, I wanted to reiterate the fact that I do have a conflict of interest related to this particular project, and I will not be voting on this particular request. Board member.
I have one too.
So Lena and myself have identified our conflicts. Questions. I know we had the opportunity to speak with Kevin a few weeks ago. Questions, comments, clarifications that folks would like to discuss at this time?
Just like a quick table set from me. Can maybe Eric or Kiana just remind us sort of where we stand on the emergency application budget, like how much we allocated last time, what's left, that kind of thing.
Sure. Here, let me just pull this up really quickly. So we have 126,000 left because we committed 224,000 to the previous project. That of course doesn't include the 2025 allocation, but as we wrote into the guidelines, that will be for the innovation side. So this represents the last 126,000 in the emergent side. Of course, we have things like HOF repay, or we could revisit that previous decision we made, but that is our budget for now.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
I do have a question. Since we last talked, wanted to know if there was like any updates on like the current situation you have at your building. And I know as well we mentioned your fundraising efforts. So I wanted to see if there was any, new happenings there as well.
Unfortunately, I don't have any news to news to share regarding fundraising, other than we are steps closer to closing the larger PHFA project that we mentioned. Does not involve any of these pieces, but will be occurring in the building as well in the coming future. We actually, relative to what's outlined here, we authorized our contractor to line up some of the environmental testing that needs to be done as it relates to that change order. Since we have two showers offline right now, we wanted to be in a position where we could move forward regarding this funding application. So we did move forward, aligning the environmental work that needs to be done in preparation for that change order to move forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions or comments or clarifications that the board would like to explore at this time?
Yes, please. Hi, Kevin. This is Rob Helwig. I'm the Fair Housing Representative on the HOF Advisory Board. Appreciate you being here. A couple questions. Is it fair to say that if you don't replace the lift, the other operating lift will accelerate in its wear and tear and then potentially affect the ability of people who need the lift to access the building?
It is fair to say that. Yeah, we had, and I think I mentioned this previously too. We had this list, we had this lift sort of on our radar screen, and we were hoping to get about another 2 years out of it before we had to make a major investment replacement in it. But it simply came to the point where it was going to need to move up our capital needs list. Unfortunately, we had already outlined the scope of the work that we were going to put in with our PHFA request that the URA is also assisting on and that David is working on with us there. So this lift came in kind of after that onto the radar, but it is also correct that, yeah, we do have a lift on what we consider the commercial side of the building at the Wood Street entrance. And it's really that lift on that side is not made to handle the sort of traffic that the lift on the residential side is made to handle. So yeah, it would definitely add a burden to that if there were an issue on that side.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. And then do you have an idea of, how many of your residents use that lift and, or have an issue that requires them to use that?
I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you that we do have a significant number of people who use that lift. Actually, today we had a building evacuation exercise this morning. So over this past week, we had gone through and collected information about those folks who would need to shelter in place and who would need to be identified to first responders if they needed to respond to a situation at the building. I believe it was more than 20 people who indicated that they would have an issue being able to get out of the building in the event of a serious emergency. I can tell you that there are folks with both disabilities and folks who have who are older and need the assistance, or just the very fact that people move in and out all the time, and that lift comes in. That lift is absolutely necessary for folks to move their belongings in and out, as well as most of the materials that come in and out of the building. If you're not familiar, it's not the greatest setup in the world, in that the street level entrances on both the 3rd Avenue side and the Wood Street side, when you enter into the door, unless you have business right at the front desk of the residential lobby, you have to go up basically a half a story, half a flight of stairs to get to sort of the major area in the lobby on both sides of the building. So those lifts are absolutely necessary for the operation of the building.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just have a quick question.
Okay, thanks, Tanika.
Just a quick question. So any of the things that you mentioned, can it be added to as an increase to the larger PHFA budget? You talked about that.
That's a great question. We are kind of locked into that. We've been working on that for about 2 years. We're headed to closing hopefully later this month. So that project, that deal's far down the line.
Okay, so it's later. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, thank you to the team for the robust conversation and questions and comments. At this time, if we do not have anything additional pressing, I would like to see if we have a motion related to this particular request.
Motion to approve.
Was that Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robert. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Becky. We've already acknowledged that Lena and myself have conflicts. Do we have any additional conflicts of interest and abstentions from this vote? Hearing none, I'm going to put the motion to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right.
All those in opposing vote, please signify at this time by saying nay. And we've already recorded our abstentions. Congratulations, Wood Street Commons. The board is certainly happy to support your project.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of opportunity to speak to you guys.
Absolutely. And we would hope that you have the opportunity to come back and keep us updated on your progress.
Look forward to it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We're going to move forward on the agenda at this time. As you all know, we did have another proposal that was submitted, and we are going to postpone that discussion until the next meeting for some clarification on that application. Is that correct and accurate, Eric and Kiana?
Yes, that is correct. It's likely we will be reaching out to you, the advisory board, with some updates ahead of the next advisory board meeting. But for this time around, yes, we will not be reviewing the Women for a Healthy Environment initiative that was proposed.
And something
Can
I
I
just
ask a
wanna...
question?
Oh, sure, Darius.
Since the Wood Street project took the rest of like our budget, how are we going to handle, I guess, the Women for Healthy Environment application and any other application that comes in? Are we just going to close the application down, or I guess what's the process?
We'll close the application down, and Women for Healthy Environment was a large ask. It was an ask of $2 million.
Oh, gotcha.
And so we are trying to understand what the true need is with their application. And so not sure that it'll come back before you at the next meeting, but we will close the application for the HOF funds down at this point. I mean, the demo dollars down at this point. And then potentially if we want to revisit Women for a Healthy Environment when we open it again, we can do that.
Got you. I guess I missed a comma because I thought it was 200,000, but yeah, 2 million.
Yeah, I thought so too. But...
Same vote.
We actually talked about that in our preparation for this meeting. I asked Kiana and Eric, I said, am I seeing this wrong? Because it looks like $2 million, which is definitely not an amount that we have available. But I did want to make a comment publicly about Women in Healthy Environment. I think what they're proposing to do is amazing. There was just a settlement closed in the Mon Valley related to the pollution situation from, I believe it was 3 years ago at this point. There are going to be some federal dollars that are coming into that community. And I think it is always important for us to, if we have partners and we believe in their concepts, to be able to, share resources. So that is one that I'm not sure of all the parameters related to it yet. I did not see all the details, but I think that it's always helpful if the expertise on this particular board can share resources that they think may be able to support projects that will be impactful. So I always highly encourage members of this board to share those resources as we will have times that there are projects that we can't fund, but we may have good ideas about how they could be funded. So I think our next agenda item is going to be led by the URA.
Yep, that is correct. So next up, we are going to be talking about the 2026 HOF Annual Allocation Plan Survey. This is the survey that we run every year for the Housing Opportunity Fund to get the public's feedback on how we should be best allocating our money, the Housing Opportunity Fund money. This survey opened on May 1st. It will run through July 31st. We have it available in both English and Spanish, as you can see on the screen right there, through either their links or the QR codes. These are also both available on the flyer that was sent out to all of you, the advisory board members. In addition, we have, as we do for all of our programs, we have additional translation services available by request. You know, to all of you listening, including the advisory board members and everyone else, we really we'd ask you to please share this as much as possible. We want to get as many eyes on this as we can. We will be going to all different community events throughout the next few months in order to push this and get as many responses as possible. So advisory board members, especially those of you that are new, this is sort of one of your largest responsibilities is being able to help us with the allocation plan in its totality. And the first step is the survey. So, you know, within your office, around your community, to your family, spread this to whoever you can. As long as they live in Pittsburgh, they qualify to take the survey. That is the only requirement, that the person is currently living in Pittsburgh, the person that's filling it out. So that
Eric,
is,
are you
yep.
open this year to going to events related to the survey? I know that the URA has historically done that. So if we have events that we can connect you with, is that an option for this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the events are already kicking off. The first City in the Streets today is today. It's being run by the mayor's office. I'm going there right after this. It's in Perry South. So yeah, we are already kicking off. So any events you know of that you know, have great, you know, outreach into the community, any email lists, you know, anything at all, send them all my way. So hoping to do, you know, we broke the record last year. Obviously, it would be amazing to do that again. So, yeah, however you can pitch in, we appreciate it. So let me know if you have any extra questions.
I know last year, Eric, you participated in many of ours at the Housing Authority. And so I'd like to submit to you our calendar for this year.
Awesome.
Because, yeah, we have a lot going on. And
yeah, I've been meaning to reach out to you about that. Let's coordinate. Yeah, absolutely.
We have it. Thanks, Adrian, for the question.
Yeah, no problem.
And Eric, I know I owe you an iPad, which I keep forgetting every time I have, every time I'm ordering technology, I forget to get you an iPad. But the URA can also accept donations that can support their community-based outreach. So Eric, if there are things beyond iPads that would be helpful to you and you want to let us know, this is a great time.
I will definitely keep it in mind. Honestly, Adrian, we already have 6 iPads and that's about as much as I can manage.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm not
glad
sure.
I brought it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure additional iPads would be that useful. I appreciate the sentiment, no doubt. But yeah, just in my experience last year, they are very helpful. I got a lot of responses on the iPads. So they were definitely a worthwhile investment, but I think that they have the number of them sort of has diminishing returns, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So it should be good as we are, but I will keep that in mind. Your generosity is always appreciated.
Eric, we also have a space.
Sorry.
We're actually moving. Oh, go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
Oh, one of the things I wanted to propose this year, if in fact we could engage some of our tenant council presidents in our communities, perhaps with some, you know, maybe an iPad or something, because oftentimes they know more people and can connect with them too. if we could get them some, some brief training on, the questionnaires and maybe one of the iPads and just kind of get them involved in the process. I think that might be extremely helpful because we have many of our tenant councils that are kind of gearing up. This is their first time at the bat and just really want to get them engaged in, this kind of portion of the work that we're doing, just from a grassroots perspective. So just
Right.
wanted to put that out there for you.
Yeah, I mean, I would certainly love to teach them about the survey and about our programs so that they feel qualified to go talk about it out in the community, especially when they're, already involved in that sort of way. As for giving one of the iPads, I think that's a conversation I'm gonna have to have with management for sure. But
I didn't expect you to give it to them. I expected them to be there with you on the days that you're there.
Absolutely, I misunderstood. Yeah,
That's okay. That's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sounds like a great idea.
Tanika, go ahead.
Thank you. So I also wanted to say, Karen, I would love to be a part of that too, to help and support the tenant council. I grew up in Garfield Heights.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So there's ways that we can work together with that. The other thing is just another option. Catapult is moving. And so we are literally, which is why I was a little late coming on. And we have a space where it will be available to do in person. And so if you wanted to have a space, and so it'll be open to individuals in the community, we would love to be able to host some listening sessions, understanding, giving people, not just training them, but explaining the why. Because people don't buy what you do, they buy. They buy into they don't buy what you do, they buy into why you're doing it. And so we wanted to just really focus on that. We are more than open to having sessions there. I know we've done them in the library before and wherever. So it's a free space. It's not huge, but it's a space where we can really engage with the community and get them to understand. And I think that's another way we can get more buy-in and to get people to know, to understand the advocacy and how important it is for self-advocacy. So just wanted
Where's the location, Tanika?
It's in East Liberty. So it's I'm going old school, the old Jafusics. That space, so it's across from Hotel Indigo.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to know that, it's accessible to the folks. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it's on a bus line. It's right on the corner of Highland Avenue. So that's all, it's important. Yes, yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Creating these synergies gets us so much further than when we try to do this alone. So, continue bringing the great ideas forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, appreciate all of you on the advisory board and everybody that has already volunteered your help. I will do nothing but talk about this for the next few months. So anyways, unless we have any additional questions or comments, I will move us right along to our state of the HOF and programmatic expenditures and updates. So this is the month of April that you can see on screen right now. Once again, I have included the HOF Repay account, so you can see how much is there. Sort of a big month for homeowner assistance. That was our the most expenditures that we had from our programs. Down payment and closing costs has been pretty consistent all this year, and we can see just sort of the last little bits of the legal assistance going out, and 20,000 from the small landlord fund is pretty significant because it's a lot of months where we don't see any expenditure from the small landlord fund, so that is worth highlighting. And then on to the year, we can see that down payment and closing costs, and you'll be able to see this on the next slide even better, is just about out of its previous year's allocation. That is true for most of these programs right now. Fortunately, we know that the next round of funding from our 2025 allocation will hit sort of at the end of this month or the beginning of the next month, assuming all things go smoothly. So that's important to keep in mind. And yeah, maybe I should just go to the next slide to show that this graph once again, or chart rather, So you can see, down payment and closing costs is nearly zeroed out. Now we are doing a few projects through that still, but those are coming from different funding sources because we have mostly exhausted the HOF allocation. What else can we see here? The legal assistance is just about zeroed out as well. And the for sale development, I know it's still a good amount of money, but that's also sort of running out of funding. So sort of just displays that over, the past year and even previously that we've been using pretty much our allocation to the fullest extent that we can. And I don't know, I think it's just a good showing, and it's important to note, and it's exciting because, in about a month when we get the next round of funding, it'll be cool to see how all these graphs sort of start to explode and come back to life. So good to keep in mind. Perfectly we'll open to any questions and comments that the advisor board has.
Question, I remember last month you're saying that the small landlord fund had a lot of applicants that might use all the funds. Is that still expected to be the case?
Yes, that is still expected to be the case. I know that there's one in the pipeline that may not be able to come to completion, so that may impart more money back sort of into the system. For now, yes, the application is still closed because we do still anticipate, that it will take up all of the allocation. And we're not about to start opening it up based on a might, but that is the current state of things
It'll
right now.
remain closed for now. We have more applications in the pipeline than we have funding currently. So if anyone did drop out, we already have applications that could move up into that pipeline. So it will remain closed for now, and there's no funds allocated to it for 2025. But I do think it has become a more popular program and something to think about for the 2026 allocation round.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Chief Wassler. Any additional questions? Okay. Hearing none, we can move on to adjournment.
So I want to steal 5 more minutes from the advisory if we have the opportunity to do that. So we all appear to really support the idea of having a retreat. Last year, we did sort of a combination of, we did a very short business meeting and then extended after that business meeting for conversation related to planning. We could do that again this year, or we could set, an alternate time that's really separate and distinct from our regular HOF business. But we did want to get some thinking from our group of potential dates. So we know that it is incredibly difficult to get a great time for everyone, especially if we were talking about 2 to 3 hours. But our thinking last year was it would be great if we could have 2 hours related to planning and then, have a meal together and, just have the opportunity to engage. We can do something shorter, but it is something that it feels like everybody would like to do. So shockingly enough, we are now in May, which is almost halfway through the year. So if we would like to do this prior to our allocation planning, we would really want to be looking at this happening soon. I would just like to ask everyone to take, 1 minute and peek at their calendars and send me an email. I'm not asking everybody to do it now and debate times and dates, but if folks could send me an email with best days and times for you, we're going to do our absolute best to get something scheduled so we can have, just a deeper educational conversation, a goal conversation, some creative concepting. We just want to make sure that we have that time because it seems to be something that we've all valued in the past and would like to do again. So everyone, you have my email address. It's on our HOF group. Please, if you could just send me some of your preferences, we'll do our absolute best to do something that is short and impactful and convenient for everyone. And by the time we convene next, hopefully having some details in place of good days and times and how we might stage the session, make sure that everyone is fed generously and has the opportunity to connect. And if there is any additional or new business that members would like to bring forward at this time, I didn't keep you a whole 5 minutes. So we have 2 to 3 minutes if there are other things that we'd like to bring to the table. Hearing none, I'll be looking forward to your preferences on a meeting. And thank you everyone for the great conversation today and the support that we've provided to impactful projects. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, Ellie?
Oh, I was saying thank you, but I'll make the motion.
Oh, okay. So we have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. And I look forward to seeing
Bye,
you
everyone.
in June.